unconventional personality style very much belongs in the eccentric cluster, but it can look quite different from the other two in the cluster, the wary and solitary styles that might be a kind of more quiet, independent way of being set apart from other people or being individual or being on your own. Whereas the unconventional style is very much about being very clearly, distinctly, and sometimes visually different and distinct. So that can be really interesting and really valuable in an organization to have people who have a really clear sense of themselves and their own direction and who set themselves apart in terms of style or in terms of ideas or what you're doing or processes or unique ways of approaching problems. Having people who think about things a bit differently and bring different ideas to the table and can analyze stuff from a completely different frame of mind or a different perspective is extraordinarily useful in any team, especially when you're looking at any sort of organization or team that requires innovation and new ideas and thinking about stuff in different and unique ways. That can be really useful. And that unconventional style is often from a person who has that really distinct sense of themselves and also a really strong need to be different and be unique and stand out from the crowd and, either visually or ideologically or in terms of thought be quite different from other people. Interestingly, it often is used as a strategy of putting a bit of separation or distance between oneself and other people for various reasons. And sometimes, like someone who's wary or solitary, there's a bit of threat or worry or anxiety about interpersonal relationships there. And instead of putting distance kind of in terms of space or in terms of social distance from other people, it's more about setting up barriers even if you're close to them. So it could be that really distinct visual style or ideology or approach to work or kind of context that you're putting up those barriers that make you distinct, that show that you have different ideas, you think about things differently, and it becomes a kind of core sense of self, sometimes with these unconventional personalities. So it can be really useful when people with those unconventional personality styles can find ways to connect and communicate with other people and have their unique way of looking at things, but can also communicate that really effectively to other people and explain it to other people kind of in their own language or understand how other people approach issues. But it can create problems when the barriers are so high that people can't communicate at all. That people are, the person with the unconventional personality style is communicating with their own way and they refuse to explain it to other people on their own terms or in their own language. It just makes it really difficult to bridge that gap and to find the mutual areas of benefit. So interestingly, it is often a strategy for creating some distance between oneself and other people, or putting up some barriers that are essentially protective in a lot of senses, right? So you've got that really unique sense of self and ideas about who you are and who you want to be and what you want to do with your life or your goals or your work or your projects or whatever it is, but then also putting that separation up. So you can see it can be really healthy and adaptive when it's useful for productive purposes and when you can connect with other people who have, have positive reciprocal relationships, whether it's people who are also a bit different or have unique ideas about approaching things. But it can be really useful or really difficult when it creates barriers that are so high it's impossible to communicate with other people. It becomes really difficult to have any shared sense of understanding or mutual benefit in a relationship. Whether that's a work relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship, whatever the relationship may be, sometimes the challenge is in bridging that gap and finding that communication that can be effective. But it can also be harnessing those skills and that energy and that unique perspective, because people who have that unconventional approach to work or life or ideas can have really good ideas, whether it's as inventors or innovators or creators or artists. Or having that approach is a really effective part of a team, and being able to harness that in a way that other people can connect with it and understand it, it can be really, really helpful, useful, productive, and a really interesting part of a team.